This is Unit 5, Lesson 3. Get started on the fast start activity, and then we'll get moving on the rest of the lesson. Pause the video and do the fast start. So, first question. If you were to think about the information you would need to know about a book, think about what facts, what things would you know about a book? Think really basic level. So the answer to this question becomes the fundamental structure of what we're going to call a class. We're going to create a book class, and it's going to contain all of the pieces of information you need about a book, in addition to containing all of the things a book can do. Now that may sound silly, it's a book. What can a book do? Well, a book has pages that can turn. So that would be something the book can do, turn a page. I know you're technically turning a page, but the book's got to have some action in that too. Right? The book's pages turn. If you think about it and just flip the voice a little bit, instead of you turning the pages, the book's pages turn. So the book has things that it can do. So first, we have to talk about when you're constructing a class from scratch. And we've seen this a couple times with some people, and we kind of worked around it. But when you're creating a class, you name the class, and the file name has to be the same as the class. So I gave you guys a download file for this lesson. There's a startup file. I would like you to download the startup file and put it into a folder. Then I would like you to create a new file and save it as book. And the text should just say public class book and leave this blank with just the two curly cues. So I want you to pause the video and do that now. So open up the template file in Dr. Java along with the book class. You should have both files open. Dr. Java needs both files open to recognize that both files are there. And they need to be in the same folder. And the first thing we're going to do is put in a line of code. And we're going to create a new book. The book type. We just created a new type. Just like we have strings, and we have scanners, and we have array lists, we now have a new type called book. Just by creating that file and calling it book, we now have a new class type called book. It doesn't really do anything, and in fact, if we tried to compile this right now, it's not going to run because we have an error in it, and we're going to fix that in a minute or so. But we're going to call the constructor. The constructor is going to have the same name as the file and as the class. The constructor must always have the same name as the file and the class. So add this line of code to your template. So what happens here in memory is this book type is referring to the class book. We're creating our own type. So let's fill this in a little bit. We need to make sure that we have a constructor. Every class, bare minimum, must have a constructor that has the same name. Even if the constructor doesn't really do anything, you have to have a constructor to make it a class. We're also going to add in a couple other things. We're going to add in some data. So we're going to have 3 pieces of data, and I'm labeling all 3 of these private, which means only this file, the book class, has access to those 3 pieces of data. Nothing else has access to those 3 pieces of data. And inside of book, I'm going to create my constructor, public book, and it's going to have 3 parameters, a string called T, a string called A, and an int called Y. And I'm going to assign the value of T to title, A to author, and Y to year. So pause the video and add this code, as well as adding in the additional code to the constructor with some book title, some author, and some year to our constructor in our other file, the template file. So pause the video and do that. If you can't read it here, there's also the notes file you can read this from. So this should compile. If it doesn't compile, you have some typo somewhere. You should have two files. Both files should exactly look like these two files here. So we can also write another method in here that's going to print out the value of our information, of our book. This is called an accessor method. It's accessing information of the object that we created. So we have this book B that we created, and we're going to call system.out.print B, and Java will automatically know to call the toString method. So just by printing B, our book, Java will automatically know to use this method. We could also do b.toString, but Java automatically knows to use the toString method when we print an object that has a toString method. All we're going to do is return the title, a new line and a tab, return the author, a new line and a tab, and the year, all concatenated together. So that's all this method is going to do. And when we run this, we should now get printed to the screen the title, tabbed underneath, the author, and the year. So go ahead, add that code, the method, and also the print statement to your program. So once you have this up and working, we'll pick this up in the next video. Again, if you need to read this better, it is in the notes file online in Blackboard.